5, 4, 3, 2. We are here today on the Mobile Mailbox Money Podcast here with Patrick Franz, Note Investor Extraordinaire. He's runs Note Investor University. Patrick, if you could just introduce yourself for the viewers that don't know you.
Hey, thanks, Alden, for having me on your show. I'm really excited. I love working with you. And my name is Patrick Franz. For those who don't know me, I'm a professional full-time investor now. I wasn't, 6 years ago, but I am now. And I'm the co-founder of Note Investor University, where we teach folks how to not only invest money into mortgage notes, but also how to build systems to be able to utilize other people's money and create real wealth and real financial freedom by being able to acquire a large portfolio of mortgage notes. So that's what I do. And of course, I've spawned into fund manager and apartment developer in Florida and all that stuff. But that's how things progress. And that's why I want to teach people how to get into the money business. That's why we founded Note Investor University. That was what sparked my partners and I career in investing to be able to expand into building apartments and other things. It all started with investing in notes. And so that's what we teach people.
Love to hear it. Vastly successful in those various different buckets that you guys are procuring out in the market, from note investments to multifamily to raising money in the fund. It's cool to see the development all off the back of note investments. What a great upward trajectory that's had off of the notes and note education and networking and things of that nature. That's how we met, actually, out at Paper Source. That was a great event, met some great contacts, and have come to cultivate a great relationship between our two companies. So for individuals that are looking out to try and purchase their first note, I think Note Investor University may be their next step to provide the further validity and comfortability in the asset class of some due diligence and things of that nature. You guys have a couple courses that you have and a mastermind. Kind of what does that look like as far as an individual maybe wanting to get involved and it's kind of on the sidelines?
It's a good question. In fact, we've been teaching people for about 5 years now. We've taught over 1,000 students. And what we found in the industry is that, and we were guilty of it as well, but we find in the industry is a lot of people concentrate on education. And that's awesome, right? You have to be educated in the asset class, legalities, terminologies, documentation, the whole 9 yards. It's different than real estate investing. So it does require an extensive amount of education and expertise. But we found that a lot of people get the expertise and then kind of find themselves stuck in actually taking action and really building real wealth and really generating lots of passive monthly cash flow. And that's the other half that we see is kind of left out of the game. So we've reconstructed the Note Investor University and just launched it this month, February 1st, 2025, the newly reconstructed program. And it's all about results this time. And so, yes, we've got, 6 college style class modules with over 130 videos. We've got final exams after each semester. We've got, 7 different master classes. We have training now Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So there's 4 days a week of training on Zoom for the students. And I could go over deliverables like that all day long. The real transformation of the program this year is about results, like I mentioned. And so, yes, we're going to educate you to be a pro in note investing, no problemo, but we have promises for our students. So it used to kind of be, Alden, as you know, people enrolled and just stayed in our program and were with us as long as they wanted to be and that kind of thing. And we educated them and helped them to try to achieve some results and so forth. And now it's totally different. So now we are going to have a 12-month program maximum. And in the 12 months, we're going to achieve certain results, not just get you educated. So in the program, new launch this year, we're going to help somebody to raise at least $150,000 of private capital minimum.
Love it.
In 12 months or less. Second is that we're going to at least make sure somebody purchases a minimum of 3 note deals. And then the third accomplishment would be to get somebody to a point where they are earning at least a minimum of $500 a month in passive cash flow. And so we feel like with this new program that it will help to get people to advance far quicker create results far faster, and also be able to, in 12 months or less, literally fly the coop and be able to move forward with the education, the expertise, the systems in place, the knowledge, the documentation, and everything they need to move forward the rest of their lives, acquiring more and more of these paper assets.
Well, what would you recommend an amount of someone that's sitting on the side, that's waiting to maybe leverage, or, you know, however that looks? They're ready, maybe they're not. What does that look like as far as a recommended capital amount to maybe buy their first 3 notes? Is that like 100? Is that $1 million? You know, what does that look like?
It's a good question. I get that question a lot. And matter of fact, in one of our coaching calls yesterday, this came up. We started kind of laughing about it a little bit. Desi and I, my partner, started laughing about it a little bit because he reminded me that in 2019, and maybe it was 2020, but it was when I was beginning to build my personal portfolio up. And I found and you'll laugh at this one too a little bit, Alden, but I found a first lien performing mortgage note I bought it for $4,300. For $4,300.
Low acquisition.
It's interesting, right? It was on a little house in Gary, Indiana. And Gary, Indiana is touchy. Like, one street can be nice and the next street over can be super raggedy. And so it's a sketchy area to invest in, number one. Number two, it was only $4,300 purchase on a first lien performing note, which is really interesting. And my partner Desi's, don't do that, man. That thing's not worth your time. It's not gonna, you may just be a loser and lose your $4,300. But at that rate, I ended up holding the note for 6 months and then selling it for $7,000. I collected a little bit of cash flow for 6 months on that thing and sold it for $7,000. Ended up being a winner. But point being made, Alden, to answer your question, is that notes range in price all over the place. All over the place. Like I said, I bought one for $4,300. I mean, you can buy notes for $5 million, right? And everything in between. And so what we find is that when we're buying notes that are secured by single family residents across the United States, in order to find something that is quality, something that has that's being backed by a house or a piece of collateral that you'd actually be okay taking back, right? And in a desirable neighborhood where it's not filled with crime and those kinds of things, then you are playing in the $50,000 to $75,000 range purchase price for something like that. And here's the thing: no matter what people do, Alden, whether they're going to flip houses, whether they're going to stack doors and just try to be a landlord and have 25 rental properties or whatever it may be, whether somebody's going to do a syndication and then go out and try to buy a small apartment complex or any of this, most people don't have enough of their own money to scale that type of business the way it needs to scale to get them to financial freedom. And so what we find is that in all of these endeavors, one of the major skills people need to learn is how to raise private capital. And so when people ask me about what's the entry price of getting into the note investing world and all that good stuff, well, look, if you're planning on buying a note or two, let me tell you this: you don't need my professional note investor certification program. You don't need that. We have a fundamentals course, which is like 30 videos long, that breaks note investing down from A to Z. Enough for you if you have, $50,000 sitting in your IRA. And you say, I'd rather get 8% return or 10% return on that money versus the 3% I'm getting in the stock market. Let's diversify that money out of the stock market and put it into something secure that earns me better return. Well, if that's the case, we have like a fundamentals course that's very inexpensive and very detailed that somebody can get enough education and enough understanding to be able to buy a note. Right? But here's what we found over the years, Alden, is that when somebody gets enough education and enough understanding to go out and buy their first note, okay, what happens is they've learned the processes and they've actually gone through it, not only had expertise, but now had experience, and they get it. Note investing becomes real life and comfortable to them, right? It wasn't that hard. It wasn't as scary as I thought. And this note, it just keeps on spitting out $600 a month, every month into my IRA. This is a great thing. And they go, I want to buy another one of these things. It'd be nice to buy another one. And they go and look into that IRA and they go, well, that IRA money's already been invested into note number one. Don't really have any IRA money left. I don't have another 50 or 75,000 bucks just sitting around in my checking account to buy another note, but I know how to do this. I'm educated. I want to buy more. It seems like a really good thing. And then they say, well, I don't have any money. I'm not liquid. I can't buy another note. And that's an interesting place to be stopped, right, Alden, where somebody goes, I got the education, I got the expertise, I know how to do this, I've bought a note, I've worked with a loan servicing company to get it boarded, I've got the cash flow coming into my bank account, and it wasn't that hard. Man, I want to do more of this. Well, you have to have money. And so that's where we tend to say that folks that are starting out where I was in 2018, where I just didn't have much money at all. I didn't have a big IRA to start using or anything like that. You're already in the place where you're saying, well, I don't have access to 50 grand or 75 grand. You're already there. And there could be some people listening that are like, well, I've got $200,000 in my IRA, so I'll be good. Well, we could buy you 4 notes for 50K a piece, and all of a sudden you're not liquid anymore. So what we've noticed over the years is that people, when they get into note investing and get sort of addicted to it, because it's awesome, they realize they run out of their own money pretty quickly and become illiquid, but want to buy more notes. And so how do you do that? You raise private capital. And that's one of the things that a lot of our competitors in the industry, have a bit of lack of being able to teach people, is not only the skills and the presentation skills and how to raise private capital, but how about this? How about somebody that can help you build some systems and put systems in place to where investors will come to you versus you always having to go and chase them down? Wouldn't it be nice to wake up in the morning and you got 2 or 3 emails or 2 or 3 text messages from people that are saying, hey, I'm interested in maybe investing with you. Can you give me a call? And so that's where our program is now, because that's what we've learned teaching over 1,000 students over 5 years, is that that's what people really need. Here's the other thing, Alden. And as I mentioned, my partner and I were able to advance ourselves into other endeavors, like being fund managers of a $20 million fund and now a $100 million fund, and building some apartments in Florida in a place called Palm Bay. And all those moves came from the same skills, the same expertise, and the same types of systems that we had learned and put in place at a smaller level to do notes, right? And so the beautiful thing about this new program is we believe that it could benefit all sorts of different types of investors. Of course, I believe everybody should have notes as a part of their portfolio. And matter of fact, I believe if people are calling themselves real professional real estate investors, but they're not playing in the paper side of real estate, then they're missing a little bit of it, right? Just imagine being able to put raising private capital and automation and have systems in place to be able to allow people to trust you, like you, and invest with you, to where then your world can open up. Not only can you buy tons and tons of mortgage notes and build yourself a massive portfolio that pays you and your family passive cash flow monthly and sets you free financially. That's the game we play. But also, when you learn these skills, Alden, can you raise $20 million to go and build apartments in Florida? Yeah, nothing changes. Nothing changes but the zeros, right? I tell people, if you can raise 50 grand, you can raise 500 grand. If you can raise 500 grand, you can raise 5 million. None of the systems or techniques change, right? And so that's what's cool about our program. And the matter of fact is, programs cost people money, right? My program's not free. People pay us for the expertise, the systems, the documentation, the templates, everything that we provide, plus our attention and coaching and hand-holding. And so it does cost a bit of money. But the one thing people can count on is if they get themselves to a place where we promise you in 12 months or less, we'll get them to $500 a month passive cash flow, right?
That's a big component too for a lot of people. Love that. That's a item to conquer.
It's an item to conquer, right? And if you can build up $500 a month of passive cash flow, you can build up $5,000 a month of passive cash flow, and so on. And so the theory is this, that people will transform themselves into an entirely different person by going through our program, not only by education and knowledge, but by systems and implementation, and by actual action to be able to start producing wealth and passive cash flow. Now, here's the point. My program costs money, but if I get you to $500 a month of passive cash flow minimum, right? And guys, we're talking about $500 a month passive cash flow that may be coming into your bank account for the next 25 years. Okay, that's what we're getting at here. And so it's obvious that if we can get somebody the transformation that we promised in our program, that of course our program will pay for itself pretty quickly, right? And become a wash. And hopefully people can go on building a massive portfolio. I started buying notes in 2019, right? And it's 2025 now. My partner and I now have bought $17.5 million worth of them. And so, guys, it is life-changing, and it can be. And listen, I'm talking to the person maybe that's the real estate investor, the entrepreneur, the hustler, somebody who really wants to do what I've done. And everybody's not like that, right? But I would tell you this, if somebody has an individual retirement account, 401k, extra cash sitting on the side, a ton of equity in their house that's just sitting there as artificial money on paper that they can access, any folks like that should really understand and learn about buying discounted mortgage notes, because it's one of the best investments that's ever been created. You're getting security with collateral, you're getting a better than average yield on your money, and you're also getting monthly cash flow. And when I talk about security backed by collateral, something that actually has a better than average yield when compared to the stock market or those kinds of things, and then thirdly, something that spits off passive monthly cash flow, right? It's really difficult to find those three things all in one place when you compare notes to other investment categories, right? And it's like one of those things have to take a back seat, right? Where you say, well, I want a really high return. Well, if you want a really high return, usually it's not secure and collateralized. Usually it's more risky. You have a chance to lose too, right? Generally, people who invest in stocks and cryptos can get majorly good returns, but they have to cash that money out and sell their cryptocurrency in order to get those gains. It's not just spitting them off monthly cash flow because they own it, right? You're looking at your charts in the morning. If they're going up, you're happy. If they're going down, you're sad, but it's not spitting off a couple $1,000 a month on the 3rd of every month into your bank account that's compoundable or usable for lifestyle. So I'm just saying, I hope people are taking this to heart to think, maybe I ought to learn something about mortgage note investing, right? And I know to your point, Alden, some people also don't have the time. Some people are a dentist, a doctor, a lawyer, whatever. They don't have the time to become a note investing expert. They don't want to take a class and go through modules and trainings and all that. Number one, they don't have the time. Number two, that's not their flavor and they're not going to do that, right? But note investing provides an interesting opportunity for folks that want security and collateral, want a good return on their money, and want to have monthly cash flow coming in. There's an opportunity that I deem to be called rhino lending that people can get into, where it is lending money to a professional note investor like myself or yourself, lending money on a contractual rate of return with an asset given to them as their collateral as lender. So in case you drive off a cliff, die in a plane crash, whatever it may be, they're not out the money, right? They're going to actually have upside by taking back the collateral. And so there is a place here for people that have money to invest, don't want to go to the classes, don't want to become an expert, they're busy with their lives, but they want a good place to have their money working, where they can sleep at night, they know they're getting a good return, and they have compoundable or usable monthly cash flow for their lifestyle. And that is what I deem to be called rhino lending. So somebody would, let's say scenario, somebody would lend $100,000 to me. And let's say I pay them 8% return on that money contractually. And then I take that money with my expertise and connections, because I've spent years perfecting becoming a note investor and built a reputation in the industry. So I'm able then to take my expertise, my knowledge, and go out and buy a note with that money, right? And so I've borrowed money from a private lender, and then I'm going to go buy a note. So I have to do all of the due diligence, all the acquisition, all the asset management, and have all the worries and all the work on my shoulders, because that's what I do. And they don't want to become me. They just want to remain being a dentist, running a good dental practice and investing their money in a good place. Well, boy, isn't it neat that somebody who becomes a rhino lender to a note investor gets the three best things that come with note investing, which is that investment that's secured by collateral, that good yield, and that monthly cash flow coming in. But they don't have to take the time to be an expert. They can rely on somebody like myself or yourself, Alvin. And what a good opportunity that is, right? And imagine somebody saying, well, I make 10% per year in the stock market. Well, yeah, some years, right? Some years. And then you hope that when you're at the age where you need the money and you got to pull money out of the stock market to retire with or what have you, you're hoping at that time the market's not crashed. You're hoping it's up, right? So this is kind of more speculative, and you're at the behest of the market and what it's doing. And you're not in control of that. So it's really neat for somebody who has some money to invest to say, well, if I become a rhino lender and I invest that money and lend to a note investor who's going to then assign me one of those mortgage notes as my collateral for my security position. And they're going to pay me monthly cash flow contractually at an 8% return. Sounds pretty good to me, right? Sounds pretty good to me. As a matter of fact, some people go, that sounds too good to be true, right? But it's just not. It's just not. And so, that was that Rhino lending piece where we also offer those opportunities for people. In fact, we're launching our Rhino lending club here this month, where we'll have a club where people can come for this purpose. There'll be folks like you, folks like me in that club as note professionals that have note investments that we're purchasing. And we're looking for Rhino lenders. We're looking for people that want to participate with us in that magical position where you didn't have to get all the education. You didn't have to go to the masterminds. You didn't have to become an expert. You can rely on an expert, but be collateralized and protected, get that monthly cash flow, get that good yield, and benefit just like note investors benefit. Okay, we're gonna have that club. So there'll be deals posted in there, Alden, where I'll be going in there and saying, hey, I have this note I'm buying for 60 grand. I'm looking to borrow the money and so forth. And then we can attract a lot of private lenders, IRA holders, and folks that are looking for these types of opportunities and match and pair up the people. So it's gonna be awesome.
Love to see that, the development of what you guys have to offer out in the market, pretty dynamic. It's not really seen, in maybe other education platforms, the availability to, teach you to leverage your relationships at the end of the day. If you don't have, $100,000 to $500,000, but your great grandfather has $50 million or whatever that may be, here's your next step ultimately, to go to the Note Investor University and get the tools that to have the tools at your availability to be able to execute and leverage those relationships, and know that you're getting a quality deal. It's a due diligence stricken investment. We went through and made sure and know why it's such a strong program. Oh, now I feel confident to pitch money because money knows money, at the end of the day, and to put that all into the dynamics and the stability of a note investment platform, not only it being a pitch to return on investment, but also the stability in a note itself, opposed to the other investment categories out there. I think it just creates a once in a lifetime opportunity possibly here with Patrick Franz and the NIU. So happy to have you here today, Patrick. We've seen each other and cultivated a great relationship over the past couple years in through various note investment conferences. I've seen you at Paper Source, Diversified Mortgage Expo, the Note Expo. We've been on y'all's mastermind where people get first touch of investment opportunities out in the market. Wow, man, I'm kind of blown away meeting you guys over the past couple years.
It was so funny, man, that we have our Wednesday coaching calls now with this new program. Our Wednesday coaching calls are for raising private capital. So we got Mondays, which are for basics and education, Tuesdays, which are for systems and implementation, Wednesdays, which are for raising private capital, and Thursdays for high-level masters, right? So we have those 4 days of coaching each week now. And yesterday, of course, was Wednesday. So we were going over raising private capital. And so what we did was we looked and figured what most investors are looking for, or shall I say, what are the pain points of most investors? And we sort of snickered about it, because that's why this is such a great investment. That's why this seems sometimes to people too good to be true when they hear about it the first time, because what the first thing that came up with pain points for investors was lack of cash flow. Lack of cash flow. That's what notes are about, right? People tend to pay their mortgage payments. And so if you own a mortgage note and you step into the shoes of the bank and you're now collecting someone's mortgage payment, that tends to be pretty steady passive cash flow that comes in on a certain day every month, because people tend to pay their mortgages. The second one was risk and uncertainty, because with stocks and with cryptos and other types of investments, you're very much sort of not in control, right? You are subject to what happens with the world and the markets, and you're really not in control. And so when you look at risk and uncertainty, when you have an asset backing your investment as collateral, and that piece of collateral is worth more than what you've invested, and you have an easy path to take that collateral back in case of disaster, you're in a pretty secure position, might I say. Pretty secure. So people can sleep at night knowing that they're not going to go backwards. And then the time commitment, right? Like I said, the dentists and the doctors and the lawyers are busy. They don't have the time to become a house flipper or time to become a note investing expert. And they want to rely upon experts like us. And they end up investing in things like CDs and mutual funds and all this stuff because someone else is managing that for them and they can be hands off. But when you see that, then you don't see the type of returns we get. You don't see the possible upside, and it's not really spitting off monthly cash flow, right? Finding good quality investment opportunities. Look at the competition today. It's nuts, right? It's everybody and their brother syndicating to buy some apartment building now. You know, Grant Cardone and these guys have popularized this and all. But then you look at these highly competitive markets that things are being overbid, and there's 100 people looking at the one asset to buy, and notes aren't like that. And so you have an easy path to a quality investment vehicle here. And then we looked at liquidity problems. Holy moly, I forgot about this one until we talked about it yesterday. But
We need another hour with liquidity problems.
but it's like liquidity problems, right? It's like, you know, how fast can you, if you really need money, how fast can you sell a rental property?
It's tough. Could depending on the market, at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, if it sells right away, you still have to go through the process, right? It's weeks, maybe a month or whatever, at minimum. And we were laughing and saying that we did a note transaction where we liquidated one of our notes out of our fund and we sold it. The process took 7 days and the cash was in the bank. So when we look at this and then avoiding the fluctuations in market cycles, the high cost of entry. Remember, I bought a note for $4,300. So we kind of we broke down the top 10 pain points investors have generally, right? And when we broke down that list and we went down and we go, note investing, discounted mortgage note investing pretty much solves 100% of these problems.
Absolutely. Where there's a problem, there's an opportunity, and that comes in note investing at the end of the day. That's otherwise known as what? Investing as the bank. You're being the bank in a situation with risk mitigation, a collateralized asset, and the ability to additionally leverage that asset. Whether you find a rhino lender or you sell the note, those are all capabilities within the dynamics received from not only the education in the NIU, but also the community base. Community is really important in investments in general, because why people do business with the individuals they know, like, and trust. And how do you build a relationship, in a category or asset class out in the market, with the membership in NIU, going to these note investment conferences, getting associated with other individuals that like, and trust out in the business. So happy to have you here today, Patrick. Where can people go and find y'all's education? Is that noteinvestoruniversity.com, or can they call you direct?
Yeah. My calendar link, if anybody wants an appointment to talk about our programs, to see if maybe note investing might be a good opportunity for you, you can have a consultation with me. I don't bite. And I love to help people evaluate where they're at financially, where they're headed, and see if we can help them achieve their goals quicker. So you can get on my calendar, which is just calendly.com/the note mentor. So calendly.com/the note mentor will get you on my calendar, and we can have a talk, see if we're the right fit for you, and see if note investing is something that you want to add to your portfolio.
Yeah, no, 100%. We've known each other for the past couple years. Patrick and Everly May, their Note Investor Group, they've been pretty good partners out in the market here in Note Investments. So happy to continue to cultivate the relationship, Patrick. We greatly appreciate y'all's confidence in our strategy, as well as, what other opportunities may even come up from that. We talked candidly about, what that looks like moving forward in this space, because as note investment, the nature of note investing, you have to keep raising dollars at the end of the day. And with the deal flow here in Arizona and the opportunity available today, I think it's a better time more than ever to get educated, know the strategy, know why it's such a program right now, and that, you know, build that due diligence checklist and go out there and pitch your private capital partners. You know, there's a real opportunity here right in front of you today for the people that are watching here. So Patrick, appreciate having you on the channel. That's Mobile Mailbox Money, Note Investor University. Bam, 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 bam.
I appreciate it, Alden. Always a blessing to work with you, my friend.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.